let's talk about culture. Let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers locker room culture. Let's talk about Art Rooney and his defense for this culture that he claims is not the problem or is not a problem for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, we're not gonna make a timeline here of all the antics and shit that we've seen from Le'Veon Bell, from Antonio Brown, specifically Antonio Brown, I should say, from Ben Roethlisberger, James Harrison, and multiple other people over the course of 3, maybe 4 years. We're just not going to make a timeline because I think everyone at this point knows what has happened over those or over the course of those years. I think we all know about the antics on field, off field, especially from Antonio Brown. Sitting in front of me right now, I have some quotes from Rooney in regards to the Pittsburgh Steelers culture. And by culture, I mean locker room culture. I mean team culture. A key ingredient to winning. Art Rooney said, "I certainly don't think we have a culture problem." Now, right there, he already fucked up, in my opinion. You cannot sit here, look Steelers fans in the face or look the media in the face and say this team does not have a culture problem. Because the same argument you're making that this team has won games, more so in the regular season than the playoffs, you're not going to sit here and say that there's not a culture problem, because if your argument is that this team is winning, then why haven't we made it to a Super Bowl? Because we all know, especially in 2016 and 17, the Pittsburgh Steelers were a Super Bowl caliber team. If you look at statistics, you look at the rosters. There's no other explanation. So if we're a winning team in regards to play, what is the problem? Why did they not make it to the Super Bowl? Why did they lose in the playoffs? And why did they lose games during the regular season that they should have won? You're saying we don't have a culture problem. But if you ask me and anyone with a fucking brain, that is exactly what you have. You have a culture problem. You have players throwing temper tantrums on and off the field. You have players getting into trouble in the offseason. You have players giving the media fuel to talk about everything with the exception of football. That, my friend, is a culture problem. You have players throwing other players under the bus. You have players throwing the coaching staff under the bus. You are firing coaches that should not be fired, and then the coaches that deserve to be fired, aka the entire fucking defensive staff, instead of firing the right personnel, you're keeping the wrong personnel. And that, my friend, is a problem. Those are the problems with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, Rooney, I'm sorry to inform you, my friend, the Steelers have a legitimate culture problem. But look, let's get right back into the quotes here from Rooney. He goes on to say, "We won 13 games in 2017. So if you have a culture problem, if you have a discipline problem on your team, those kind of teams don't win 13 games in the National Football League. Those are the facts we have to deal with." No, Rooney, the facts that you need to deal with is that is complete bullshit. That is complete bullshit. To sit there and say that the Steelers don't have a discipline problem. Your entire defense has a fucking discipline problem. Are you kidding me? This team always, in regards to defense for the most part, in my opinion, fuck stats. They've always looked unprepared and exposed, with the exception of maybe a few really good players on that defense, aka, TJ Watt, just to name one person from that defense. You guys continually ignore the cornerback position, the defensive backs position. You just completely ignore that every fucking offseason. You never make any good moves in free agency. I mean, I don't know what to say to this bullshit. The culture problem is non-existent in the Steelers locker room. Are you fucking kidding me? When you have Antonio Brown doing Facebook Live, and yeah, I know that incident was years ago, but who's to say that kind of shit still isn't happening? Players fighting with each other. You got Ben Roethlisberger on the fucking radio during the regular season. That blows my mind. Why do you have your franchise quarterback doing radio during the regular season, throwing players under the bus? Literally throwing players under the bus. It's baffling. And this team's never going to win until Rooney wakes up and addresses the real problems with this team. Because I think more people should have a problem with what he said. He's blatantly ignoring the problem and trying to say that this team doesn't have culture problems or discipline problems, when we all know that's not fucking true. Anyways, let's continue the quote here. He says, the bottom line is, when you point to last year and everybody talks about the drama, that was a team that won 13 games. The first test for me is the performance on the field. Are we winning games? Do we have a winning culture? I think the record speaks for itself. You're wrong. And besides, who the hell has judged teams by their regular season performance? This game is about winning championships. This team, the organization, the history behind it is about winning championships. 2009, we were calling Pittsburgh the city of champions. That is nowhere near accurate. Realistically, I guess that title should go to Boston, right? If we're being real here. This city is not the city of champions. This is the city of excuses. The city of the blind. I have a real problem with what Rooney has said. It just seriously blows a gasket. It blows my mind. And to say that he says, the fans judge them based on wins and losses. I don't. I basically judge this team on character and how far they make it based on a collection of all those things. We judge them on wins and losses. This team has won pretty consistently under Mike Tomlin, is what he says. Now, again, there's some truth to some of the stuff he says. They have won under Mike Tomlin. Whether it was Cowher's team, his team, whatever the argument is, they have won under Mike Tomlin. But he needs to get control of that locker room. And you, as the owner, need to own up to the bullshit and address those problems and not try to put a blanket over it or make excuses. I'm done ranting about this, man. We're closing in on 10 minutes on this video. I had to get this out, man. I really had. I had to say something about this because it's completely mind-boggling. I'd like to hear what you guys think, man. Do you agree with what Rooney said about the Steelers' discipline, the Steelers' locker room environment? Do you guys agree that this team doesn't have fucking discipline problems? Because if you agree that we don't, you're fucking clueless as well. And I really don't know what else to say, man. You guys can expect more XFL video content from me going forward. The NFL is a complete joke. I'm not even going to discuss the disgusting shit I seen Championship Sunday, man, in the AFC and NFC championship games. The stuff we've seen is just completely mind-boggling, and I'm telling you now, Vince McMahon may be the head honcho and the brains and the moving parts of the XFL, but the NFL is looking more WWE to me than anything I've ever seen before. Okay, it looks completely fucking scripted at this point. But anyways, man, I'm out. You guys can expect more XFL content to this channel because, in all honesty, man, I'm just disgusted with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm disgusted with the NFL, and that's all I got to say, man. Like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you guys hit that notification bell. I definitely appreciate it. Follow me on Twitter at JustBlaze412, man, so I can keep you guys up to date with all the content I got coming, and we can discuss things over on Twitter. But that's all I got to say, man. I'm out. Peace.